Big news in Ontario, a strike in the schools across the province. I'm not talking about the proposed strike by teachers' unions. I'm talking about a massive strike by parents and their kids, simply refusing to go to school. Well, what are they mad about? They are mad about an extremist child sex curriculum proposed by Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne. And here's what they're doing about it. Let me give you a report, oddly enough, in the Toronto Star, a newspaper that passionately supports the child sex curriculum. They, to their credit, are reporting the fact that an enormous number of Canadians, especially new immigrants, are opposed to it. Here, let me quote from the story. 35,000 kids were absent from school yesterday, which is 144% higher than are normally absent on any given day. This is in the Toronto district. Let me give you some stats from various schools. Again, this comes from the Toronto Star. One school, the Teston Village Public School, had 70% of the kids staying home. Imagine that. You're a teacher, principal, you show up in school and no one's there. Well, some other schools, like there's a, let me get the name of this one right, the Thorncliffe Park Public School, 90% of students did not show up. 90%! How do you even run a school when 90% of students say, we will not learn your sex ed curriculum? And I think the problem is it's a one-size-fits-all extremist political curriculum that doesn't suit the diversity of Ontario. Some people don't want to learn Kathleen Wynne's highly politicized views. Personally, my problem with the curriculum is it sexualizes children of a very young age. I don't think 6-year-old kids should be taught sex ed. I'm sorry, they're just kids. Let them be kids a few years longer. And obviously, tens of thousands of parents agree. I want to read to you one last wrinkle in this Toronto Star article, because it shows the difficulty that the white, liberal, postmodern, post-Christian left, the Toronto Star's editorial writers and newspaper reporters, have in dealing with this opposition to the sex ed curriculum. See, if these were old stock Canadians, white Christians, the Catholic Church, whatever, the Star would have no problem calling them bigots and homophobes and racists. And in fact, that's sort of what Kathleen Wynne herself tried doing. She called critics homophobes and she called them conservative partisans. But I'm sorry, 90% of parents in new Canadian neighborhoods pulling their kids out of school, you just can't make those insults anymore. So the Star interviewed one woman who, by her name, sounds Muslim. And let me just quote to you the back and forth in the Star, because I think you'll get a little lesson of how the Star's trying to handle this. Let me quote. The Star says, quoting this woman whose name is Lubna Awa. Sounds like a Muslim name to me. So here's the quote. In grade 1, they should be learning about the ABCs, not sex, said Thorncliffe Park parent Lubna Awa, who kept her kindergarten son home. Boys are boys and girls are girls. Why should they learn about a third gender in grade 1? Asked Awa, expressing fears the new curriculum will encourage young children to question their gender identity. Okay, so that's what one parent is keeping their kids out. Now here's the Toronto Star. This is a news report. The Toronto Star reported someone and they just couldn't let that stand. They had to correct her in the next paragraph. That's sort of strange for a news story, but here's how the Star rebutted the person they just interviewed. In fact, discussion of gender identity is mandatory only in grade 8 when students learn about factors that help people of all orientations, quote, develop a positive self-concept. So the Toronto Star is quoting a woman of color, a new immigrant, a minority, a Muslim woman. So they're giving her the respect of letting her say things, but not quite enough respect to let her stand. They've got to tell her, no, you foolish immigrant, you don't know what you're talking about. Take it to us, from us to the Toronto Star that we do. But actually, the Toronto Star is the one that got it wrong, because in grade 8, they don't learn about just good feelings and self-esteem. They do, in fact, learn not about 3 genders, but about 6 genders. Here, take a look at it. You can see it here in the official curriculum. 6 genders. I bet you couldn't name the 6 genders without Googling it. This is the crazy time curriculum. But you see what's happening here? The parent may have got a detail wrong. The Toronto Star white-splains the curriculum to the new immigrant. Oh, you foolish newcomer, you don't know what you're talking about. But actually, they're covering up how extreme the curriculum is. Seriously, you're teaching 12 and 13-year-old kids that there are 6 genders. That's not sex education. That is political ideology. The Toronto Star does not have their facts right. I will acknowledge that many of the protesters don't have all their facts right. English is not their first language. They're not professional policy wonks like the people at the Stars should be. They're just normal parents who are confused and worried. And why are they confused and worried? Because this child sex curriculum has been foisted on them without consultation, without parent town halls or parent-teacher meetings, without consultation or amendments, and it was sneaked up on them. It was ambushed on them. It was revealed at the last moment as a fait accompli. How can you blame severely normal, ordinary parents for not knowing all the details in the curriculum when those details were withheld until the last moment as a deliberate political strategy by Kathleen Wynne? I say again, I think Kathleen Wynne will blink. Not her herself. She's as extreme as it gets. But ordinary MPPs in these neighborhoods who have 80, 90% of their public saying, we will oppose this so vigorously, we will boycott your schools. Don't tell me that the dozens of liberal MPPs whose communities are squawking at them in full volume, don't tell me that they won't blink. They will. This is not even a fight anymore of severely normal parents versus an extremist premier. This is about her own MPPs saying to her, we do not want to die on your sex ed curriculum hill. For TheRebel.media, I'm Ezra Levant.